Everyone close your eyes. Get yourselves comfortable. We're going to take a deep breath now. Drawing in the sunshine, drawing in this beautiful, beautiful day, letting it infuse our bodies all the way to our fingers and toes. Sit with that for a few seconds. And then exhale, letting anything that doesn't work for you out and let it be transmuted by Mother Earth. Take another deep breath. Breathing in all the love that you feel from your family and friends. Hold that. Let that golden light of love fill your whole being, out through all your subtle bodies and all the way out to the edge. As you exhale, exhale everything that doesn't work for you down into the earth, and let Mother Earth transmute it into something positive. One more deep breath. Just because you can, and because it feels good. And now gently exhale. Mother, Father, God, creator of all that is, in these troubled times that we are living through, send us strength and send us wisdom and teach us how to keep the light burning for all who have lost hope. Let us be the way showers. Let us be the healers, the healed, and the healing for this world and for all the people in it. And in that healing process, we ask you to guide us and teach us how best to spread that healing to everyone. We're going to begin with saying the names of people that we know personally who need healing. And we're going to entrust them to you to know what needs to be healed, and according to your plan and their highest good, what will be done. We will now say their names. Paula,
Shirley.
Fred, Shirley, absolutely. Hillary, Carol,
Kent, Sharon,
little Durand boy,
Pete, Lady,
all those suffering from serious COVID-19 symptoms. All the children who are suffering from life-threatening diseases. Creators, you have heard our prayer. We entrust these people into your care. We know that you will heal them according to your plan and their highest good. And we ask again that you please continue to send us guidance, wisdom, and keep us in your loving arms. We ask this in the name of love. Blessed be.
so it is.
Thanks, Sally.
So who has sunshine today?
we do.
Raise your hand if you have sunshine.
It's Arizona. I mean, you
Yeah,
know.
well, don't you guys have a rainy season there?
Oh, we were supposed to. We didn't get it this year. And I love Barry Goldwater's quote, where the reason that Arizona does not go on daylight savings time is because he said Arizonans have more daylight than they know what to do with anyway. So
Okay.
I had to agree with them.
Wow. Oh. No rainy season. What's that going to mean for crops and stuff? do you guys irrigate enough that that won't make a difference?
Well, we're in a drought and they're using the aquifer so that we can take showers. So the odds are good that we may run out of water in our lifetime, but that's a subject for another day. But yeah, water in the West has always been a big issue. Wars have been fought over it. So, the water rights, there's a series called the Milagro Beanfield War. And they made a movie out of the first book, but it's a trilogy. And that was written by a guy in New Mexico that talked about water rights. And he made it into a really interesting story. So, but
Wow.
yeah, always an issue. So Marie, what do you got for us today?
Well, today I want to talk about our tagline, "The Church Without Walls," and why I think that we should consider looking at that a little more deeply. The phrase has served our community well from nearly the beginning, as I understand it. A church without walls. You know, that change I talked about a couple weeks ago, a change from the old paradigm to the new. Well, from things that are working now, but now maybe aren't quite working anymore. I think a church without walls is one of those old pathway things. It's still working. It's still a good tagline, but I think we can do better. You see, some people have a problem with the word church, and some people have a problem with the word walls. This is new energy stuff. The word church conjures up a brick and mortar building with a pastor who talks on Sundays. It calls out people who go to the building but don't live a spiritual life. On my way from Texas to Arizona this past week, I passed a huge building that said Faith Center in large words over the front door. It was clearly a church in the brick and mortar sense, but they chose not to use the word church. Unmistakably, the word church is problematic enough that a church didn't use it on their building. The word walls has been in the news repeatedly for the last 4 years, and not in a good way. Walls conjures up separation. A church without walls is itself set in the negative, without something. As a description of our community, it's lacking. So the new catchphrase we'd like to start using is honoring the divine feminine with open arms, open hearts, and open minds. You might notice that arms, hearts, and minds are alphabetical order, so I can remember them. But beyond that, these three things represent concrete ideas for us. I want to define some terms. Open arms represent the physical body. The definition of with open arms is enthusiastically and warmly. Open hearts represents the emotional or spiritual body. The definition of with open hearts is someone who is open-hearted is kind, loving, and honest. And finally, open minds. The mind represents the intellect. The definition of open-minded is a willingness to try new things or to hear and consider new ideas. So I want to talk about the phrase open arms for a minute. While I tried to research this particular idea of mine, I haven't quite come up with verification on Google. So chalk this up to a past life memory. Historically, say pre-modern age, men especially, wore a sword or dagger on their person for protection. My idea is that the phrase with open arms came from this time period, in that if you greeted someone with open arms, you did not have your hand on your weapon. Your hands were out and open to symbolize that you were not a threat. And of course, dangerous times being what they were, you could only afford to be open-armed with friends. Living with an open heart in this world is tricky. The challenge is to stay open-hearted in a cruel world. But who better to accept this challenge than us, the Madonna interfaith community as a whole? To live with an open heart is to remember that the essence of our true self is love. We must forgive, heal, and feel the depths of our emotions before we have the space to connect deeper and higher. This open heart space is where we reflect divine love and light for each other. I want to be a person who reflects divine love. Open-mindedness is a hallmark of the Madonna interfaith community. A willingness to listen to new ideas, new pathways, consider alternative thoughts, and being inclusive and non-judgmental when some of those things differ from what we might be used to. It's what we strive to be. I think these last 4 years have shown how many people are closed-minded, refusing to accept anything new because it clashes with what they already think. As we change and grow in this ministry, it's going to be important that we listen, really hear the new ideas people bring with them. In summary, while the phrase church without walls has worked for decades, I believe the catchphrase honoring the divine feminine with open arms, open hearts, and open minds carefully and more completely defines our group, the Madonna interfaith community. Using terms that are both subjective in nature and concrete in practice, and which represent the three basic tenets, physical, spiritual, and intellectual, that most of us subscribe to. This new phrase will take time for us to become comfortable. There's nothing wrong with using the old phrase, but I believe the new phrase better and more completely defines who we are and who we want to be. Thank you.
Very well said.
Yeah, that was good.
Very well
Thank you,
thought
Karen.
out. I like it. Excuse me.
I have to say, I really relate with that a lot. I mean,
Mhm.
I like the idea of the church without walls. But like you said, walls have over the last 4+ years have a different meaning now. You have a different vision when you hear that. And with church too, and not everyone believes in a church per se, but the idea of this is exactly what it is, and it just says it in a beautiful, warm, light phrase. It's really nice.
I think it even predates by a long shot the last 4 years, because there was the Berlin Wall. Walls have always been about separation. And so, that's how we separate the rooms in our houses, is with walls. So it's not that it's necessarily a bad connotation, but it's specifically there for the purpose of holding up the roof and for separation of rooms or people from one side to another, that kind of thing. So, and, anyone who's studied metaphysics for any length of time has been through that thing where you understand when somebody says, don't think of a green Volkswagen. Is that possible? No, because your subconscious does not hear negatives. So if you're even criticizing another person, it's like when you point one finger, you got a bunch coming back at you. It's that same kind of thing. Your subconscious only hears the essence of things, but not the negation of anything. So, saying I'm not going to eat that cookie 100 times usually winds up with you eating the cookie and not being able to figure out why you didn't have any willpower. And it's because your subconscious mind only heard eat cookie. So it's almost like you're compelled to go eat that cookie,
Why'd you have to say cookie?
I know, my bad. Holiday bacon, blame it on that. That's what I've been doing. So
The Madonna interface cookie.
there you go, Franz. You're in a place in the world where they have some of the best baking going on. So
Yeah.
It's interesting what you said, Marie, about the church without walls. For me, I think it's 24 years ago. It was especially the sentence "a church without walls." What was really interesting and important for me to get in contact with the Madonna ministry, because the spirituality, or especially the churches, have a lot of walls, and this reminds me. I don't know the song "The Wall." I don't know the band who sang this. Another Brick in the Wall.
Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
Pink Floyd, yeah.
Yeah. Put another brick in the wall.
Yeah, that reminds me to that. So this has, for me, this church without walls has a motivation to break through these walls and to come into more freedom of your own expression of community. And but now when I heard what you said, Marie, this is a church without walls is a negative saying, but what is it instead of we have not walls, but what is that we have? And you're right. I think church is very full of negative thoughts and beliefs, and so another word was also very sounds very good for me, yeah, like community or whatever. Yeah.
Very nice, thank you. And I put the tagline into the chat if you guys want to cut and paste it into your notes. But yeah, we kind of collectively came up with that. I think Francis was the origin of the actual phrase, and then we kind of doctored it, put it into alphabetical order so it was memorable, that sort of thing. But we've been having a committee kind of noodling around with how we express ourselves, because while Church Without Walls is a very catchy and memorable phrase, like we've just discussed, it has negative words associated with it, and it's time to evolve beyond that. And so I think the open arms, open heart, open mind is something that can become just as memorable, but it's actually accurate and positive.
There's also the idea that we may not possess all of those things right now. Like, maybe I do really well with open arms and open heart, and maybe I get stubborn about having an open mind. So, but the fact that we want to put it in terms of almost an affirmation, we're saying that we are honoring the divine feminine by being these things. And it's not a doing thing. I love that about it. There's nothing you have to do. You simply have to be. So it's one of those that the more we repeat it, the more it actually, it goes along with the fake it till you make it idea. So if you don't possess an open arms, heart, and mind, or if you're just lacking in one of those areas, the more you repeat our catchphrase like that, the more it begins to solidify and take shape and become true. So I really like it. I think it covers all the bases, and it feels to me like it is time for another change of that nature. change has to, it's inevitable that we will change. And having us embrace that change and move forward with it is really important. And that means the faster we can become what it is we seek. So,
it occurs to me with what you just said, Jenny, that we actually created a mantra. This is more than just a phrase that's true. This is a way of being and a practice in itself.
right.
Thank you for that.
It's like, I love the unity prayer for protection.
Yeah.
Because it hits all the bases. And every time I travel, I say it multiple times while I'm on the road and everything. And it's short and sweet. I'll put that in the chat too, because it is like a mantra. And you're right. I love that about that. So
Yeah.
Awesome.
The
Uh,
only, I don't know, can you hear me?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The only thing I think of though is by saying the divine feminine is there might be some people out there, some men, some transgender, folks who are, identify with other genders that might be uncomfortable. It almost seems like it's being kind of exclusive, by putting the word feminine in there. I don't know.
Maybe for the blog, Marie, since this is going to be published, maybe we could add a line that talks about the architect or archetype of the feminine, because men and women, all genders, have archetypes of both. And in the practices that I've done, when we talk about the divine feminine, we also talk about the divine masculine and finding balance. And this is what Franz talked about weeks ago. And it's kind of that yin and yang, it ebbs and flows. And we always have kind of pushed to one side for a minute, and then we kind of evolve and like flowing water around a rock or something. And then it comes back together. So I think it might be important to point that out, because that's a good point, Debbie. And I think
Yeah,
we did
I was just thinking for new people coming in, if that's what they see, they might say, oh, it's a women's group or something,
Right.
I would like to say that, thank you, Marie. That was very interesting.
Yeah.
I have to say that when I first heard of the Madonna ministry and it was a church with no walls, that's kind of what drew me in, because I haven't worshiped in a church in many, many, many years, but I love community. And that's what I liked about it. Was it meant that it was a community, and that was what was important to me. I agree though with everything that you said. The church without walls, yeah, I get the wall part and the church part, but that is what originally drew me in, though.
Yeah,
So,
we're not saying that we can't say it anymore. It's just
Yeah,
not going to be the featured tagline, so it can still.
And I think you could add community at the beginning of it. We are a community that honors the divine feminine,
right.
and
Interfaith
so
community. I mean, that's what drew me too, was the interfaith, and but I
Right.
love the community part most of all.
right.
Well, if you say Madonna Interfaith Community honoring the divine feminine, et cetera, or honoring the balance of the divine feminine and masculine. Just throwing that out there.
I think our main purpose is that, the patriarchy has had their share of the pie for a couple of thousand years. And I don't have any problem saying that our focus is on the divine feminine and the honoring of said divine feminine. That's what we do. If people get upset by that, they can have their own organization and they can say it however they want. But that is what we do. Before we changed to the Madonna Interfaith Community, we were going more and more towards this idea that the Virgin Mary was the only feminine divine that existed, and we were like a Marian order of the Catholic Church. And so that didn't work for me, to be that specific and that focused on one aspect of the divine feminine. But that's, in my opinion, that's what we're here to do, is to honor the divine feminine. And that shouldn't be, if there are people that are offended by that or something, then maybe they don't really belong with us anyway.
They're
Just
working
thought.
on opening their mind.
Right, exactly. You know, that's part of the thing. It's like, yeah, everybody could stand to open the mind a little bit more. So,
Yeah, and we've also had discussion around the name Madonna, because that also is very Christian based and, you know, speaks of Mother of Jesus specifically. And even in looking for the artwork to go with all these ideas and thoughts and memes that we've been putting together, it's amazing how many versions of the divine feminine being the archetype, not necessarily the birthing mom, although it's Mother Earth and taking care of all of its creatures, oftentimes in the artwork that's depicted, like indigenous cultures, that sort of thing. But, you know, I think it's an important distinction to say we acknowledge what's been pervasive, and there are definitely good things about it. And there are all these other things we've forgotten over time, because ancients had spiritual beliefs and practices that are, you know, just amazing. And we've kind of doused them under an economic system of organized religion. And now we're kind of revisiting the possibility that energy is scientifically valid now. People are acknowledging that. And that's the evolution that we're trying to achieve and be open to in all these ways.
One question that comes in my mind at the moment, the word interfaith. Is it, on one hand, we are more orientated on the feminine part of spirituality, and on the other side we have the interfaith, which means, when I understand it in the right way, open to all kinds of faith or believing, also more masculine orientated.
Yeah, including Christianity.
Yeah.
We're not saying we're not Christian.
Of course,
Include
yeah.
them too.
I think, Franz, that the English language does not exactly help us out here with the word interfaith. There's not really another word that is better to describe what we are besides interfaith. There's just
we
not
could
really
say multi-faith, but interfaith to me means that, like, in my path is more pagan. Some people's path is more Native American, which is also considered pagan probably. But, you know, there's several different ways of practicing the pagan faith. But there's, you know, there's Christians, Jews, we have some of everybody. And what we do is offer a space for people to be credentialed in order to practice whatever faith they choose. So that's why I think we, because we had a lot of discussion over the interfaith part of it when we were coming up with that. That's what it means to me, is that, you know, and in our previous incarnation, I did not feel free to, you know, to come out with that. It was kind of like, no, you need to do it this way, you know, instead. And so we needed to be interfaith to attract some of the other folks that we've been attracting. I like it. I think you're right. It's not perfect, but like Marie said, coming up with a word that would, you know, I know Agape, the church I used to go to in Santa Monica, they called themselves trans-denominational. So, you know, so that was kind of a whole other take on that too, but.
that may open up a whole new can of worms.
Right, right.
So now our Madonna interfaith community means and could be understood as we are guided by the divine feminine, and we are open to all other kind of faith with open arms and open minds and hearts.
I like that. That's a great
Yeah, I like that.
definition of that. Yeah. Because Madonna, actually, if you use the root word of that, there's a connotation that it's either a singer who sings weird songs that your 4-year-old and mimics, or it just means, I think it means mother or woman, so it's really, it's a more neutral word than our connotation of it, but we're using it in the bigger sense.
Madonna, in my German understanding, included the feminine and the virgin and
Right.
archetypal part. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking for, Cynthia had shared a website that it gives like a history of all these different factions of religions. And it was really interesting. It's how I got my hashtags, but I'm not finding it. If I do, I will send it to you or send it in the chat. But there are all kinds of religions I had not even heard of. Here's a few of them.
So just a thought, maybe we should consider saying in the beginning part of that tagline, instead of saying honoring the feminine divine, to say guided by the feminine divine with open arms open. I don't know, just a thought up for discussion.
I think both ways are good. I also think that in written word, it's better language to say with open arms, with open hearts, with open minds, but that's cumbersome when you say it. So you could say with open arms, hearts, and minds, just when you're saying it, it makes more sense. But when you write it, it's better language to write it.
Yeah, short and sweet.
Yeah.
And Francis, I think I understand where you're coming from with guided by, but I like honoring better because it seems to me that puts the energetic on me to be the active person instead of
being,
to say guided by puts the divine feminine squarely in the driver's seat, and it's our relationship with her where we honor that energy that makes it happen, as
Right.
opposed to
right, and great point, because we're honoring both the divine feminine, the transcendent and the immanent, right? We're honoring the divine feminine within ourselves as well. That's exactly an excellent point, Jenny. Thanks.
Sure.
Sorry, my talk wasn't longer.
Gives us a chance to talk too.
You've given us an awful lot to think about.
Yeah.
It's, I really, really like the direction that we are going in with our wording, our phrasing, our tag, whatever. I really like where that's going. We're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah. And it's not to say that it has to be this way forever, because the whole point is change and evolving.
It's alive.
Yeah.
As we are. Yeah.
Like an amoeba.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess.
I'm a scientist.
Yeah.
That could get a little weird.
In your understanding, is there a difference between faith and belief?
Good question.
I think so. For me, there is. Faith is based in your intuition and coming from the brain that's in your heart. Beliefs to me are more systematic, they're more mental, and they're a learned behavior. A belief is something that, let's say when we're kids and we go to Sunday school, you know, the church tells us that the Good Samaritan saved somebody on the side of the road, so be like the Good Samaritan. So we, you know, we develop a belief system around factual things that have happened. Faith is more the unseen, and it's the areas where you have that inner knowingness, but you may not have a scientific fact to back it up. So
what about a lot of personal development?
A system, but faith has no system.
Maybe.
For me, it's like it has, if it has systems, they're a lot less rigid or structured than a belief system.
Yeah.
Nikki, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I was just referring to a lot of personal development work that happens in this type of community. Changing limiting beliefs is something, is that an inner knowing or is that a systematic evolution as you're suggesting? I don't know, I'm asking.
What I think it is the fact that we decide. I think it's both. It's a partnership. We have to do both. We have to look at, you know, like anytime I start to write an article, I start with looking at facts. I'll look at the dictionary. What is this word that I'm going to talk about? What does it actually mean in our society? And usually Webster's is pretty good about defining that. But then I'll go off onto different tangents about how other people may see it, or other institutions or something like that. And then at the same time, I'm using my own intuition to, well, how do I feel about it? Because, you know, like Abraham Hicks always talks about that, you know, you can manifest something by doing things a certain way, but if you attach passion to it, you will manifest it twice as quickly. So.
Interesting. Yeah. Thank you.
I also want to point out that the new tagline is it's 11 words, which is, you know, an angelic number. So it's perfect, right?
Yeah.
The master number.
And Marie did, even though it was short, it was an excellent, very well prepared. It was well thought out. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Me too.
And so you'll be posting that as a blog, right?
Yep.
And perhaps we can send links to members who were not present today.
Good idea.
Yeah.
So Francis, this is being recorded. Does it save to your computer? Where do you see it? Where do you find it?
Well, we'll see when I think,
because I'm logged
because
in.
you hosted it. I think because you hosted it, it will save to yours.
Oh, okay.
And it will, and you'll get it'll say it's transforming it to something or other. So either you'll get that or I'll get that. And if you get it, then you'll just have to wait a few minutes to shut down after you close out the meeting.
Right.
And if it's on mine, then one day I'll load all the ones up to the drive that I haven't yet.
Actually, I wonder if it could be loaded to the education place. We're paying for like the education platform and the forum platform, and there's another one, the directory platform, in addition to our website. And so those are places that can be hosted that we can then share links publicly to people rather than the Google Drive. I'm not sure I would want to risk letting the public into some of our documentation.
Yeah, no, that's not a good idea.
I mean, you can identify it differently, but sometimes when people get in, they're not thinking and they put it in a shared folder or a private folder instead.
Yeah. So the all right, another discussion for another day probably, but since we're paying for the form and we're not using it, is there an option to like take that off?
Yeah, always.
Okay.
Unless it's bundled, like the cable bill on the phone.
Right, that's what I was wondering.
Very good.
think that, you know, we already had Facebook and MySpace and, you know, TikTok and a whole bunch of other things when the forum came out, and it just was not.
Well, and you know, I do this professionally, and we have tried building communities in different platforms over the years, and between three different major groups of people that sort of cross over in their belief systems and taking action and all that, we've still changed platforms between groups, and it's really difficult. The one I'm involved with right now is Singularity University, and they've just rearranged and changed everything over to a new network. And the community, which used to be thriving and got absorbed, they bought the community that was thriving and very active, has been sort of clamped down and had to shift and sort of get re-energized again, had to re-sign in again, these sorts of things. And every time you do that, and it's a harder step to get beyond, that's when the TikToks come and say, I want your eyeballs instead of anything else you might be trying, or, you know. And so it's a challenge. And even on a large scale, I mean, that's a multi-thousand member community. And it's lost probably 70% of its activity because they made a change like that. And that was a big, big drop because they're counting on it. Oh, we've got Kevin joining us.
What's a TikTok? I've been seeing that term a lot. I have no clue what it is.
Hi, Kevin.
Hello.
Hey, Kevin.
Hard to explain, Sally.
Yeah, it's another Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, WhatsApp. It's another platform that people can.
And it's for young people, so don't even worry about it.
Okay.
Seriously, they're
just knowing what it is enough.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't feel any need to explore it.
They're like little short videos of maybe 15 or 20 seconds. And they're not just for kids. There's a lot of older people on them too, but they're just goofy little things that and they're very short videos. So like Snapchat were short, quick pictures that went away. Well, TikTok is like that as well, but it's a video instead of a picture.
Okay, thank you. Now I understand.
So Kevin, I don't know if you purposely joined us late or if you're on a different time zone. The daylight savings time change has messed us up a little bit.
Oh, it's 11:51 here.
Yeah.
What time did you start?
We start at 8 a.m. Pacific.
Which is
which
11. It would be 11 o'clock your time,
an
Kevin.
hour late.
So we're
I should have been
speaker
here
was
at
late
11.
today too.
Yeah, I was late too. So I went from Texas to Arizona, and so I had a time change issue myself. So, but if you want to put your email in the chat, I'll send you the talk I gave.
Okay. Just a second. Where do I do that?
You go to the bottom of your go to the bottom of your screen.
On chat.
And there's chat. If you click that, you can send it to me, or my name's Marie. Do you see it there?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll email you the talk, and I'm going to put it as a blog on our website too, so others can see it.
Yeah, and it'll be a good refresher for you, Kevin, since you're newer to our practice.
Okay, yes, okay.
It talks about the old and the new and what we were and what we're now becoming, and so it'll be a really good refresher for you.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Just to start off, I disagree with all of it, so.
Another comedian in the group. Welcome with open arms.
And hearts and minds. So is anybody going to talk about the email that we got about Caitlin?
Yeah, I thought Francis was, or Nikki.
I was going to announce it and then I didn't because I want to give her more space to write something for us.
Okay.
Oh, Charlie's late too. Interesting. What email did you get about Caitlin?
That she was asked to be vice president?
Yes. Oh, yeah, that's right. I did copy you on that. Yes, Caitlin Crosby has agreed to be our vice president. And she is a special being in the group because there are now 3 generations of leaders. You know, Mama Bear, who recently passed, Terry was our past president, and Caitlin and her brother Kevin were ordained within the church as kids, underage kids. And so they've grown up with the church. They know all of us. And Caitlin has agreed to be our vice president. So we're very excited about that.
I'm thrilled about that.
Yes.
Yay.
Yeah.
There's
And Charlie,
Charlie.
are you on a different time zone today? We're
Well,
ending instead of beginning.
not really. I just didn't have a good night, so
Ah,
I
gotcha.
slept in.
Okay. Well, welcome.
You missed a great topic.
Yeah.
That
Did you
was really good
record it?
today. I really enjoyed that.
Did you record it?
Yes, it's recorded and we're also going to post it as a blog on the website too.
Great.
Yeah.
Yes, Marie did a beautiful job.
Yep.
And for
About
Kevin
the
and Charlie,
tagline.
the laser version is that we wanted to change our timeline, our tagline from Church Without Walls, which you're still more than welcome to say whenever you feel like it, to honoring the divine feminine with open arms, open hearts, and open minds.
Sounds good to me.
We had all kinds of discussion around it, and I think pretty much, are we going to vote or something, or how's that working? Are we
Let's do it.
We already put it up on the survey, so everybody had a chance to tweak or suggest other things, and we didn't get a lot of feedback, but we've talked about it in a board meeting and in the marketing meeting, and so yeah, if you want to vote today, we can do that too. Yays, put your hand up. All right.
I'm just abstaining. I wasn't part of the dialogue. So, I mean, it all sounds good to me.
No, you're the one that said, I disagree with everything that's been said.
That's why I grinned when you explained it.
Yep.
to come up with a resident contrarian?
Yeah.
And then Kevin can fill that for us there.
Oh, that sounds like me.
Well, in just to keep everybody on track, because we talk with multiple people and sometimes we talk over each other. So just to keep things short and sweet, we each get a turn. This is an example of somebody else, not what we're suggesting here. And if you disagree and you don't vote in the positive, you're required to give a dissertation on the why.
Oh,
so that we hear you fully. And then we vote on that too. It's like, okay, is that a reasonable, holding back on saying yes?
I get the funny feeling that I would have no problem coming up with a dissertation if I disagree. That's not my nature, not just.
Okay. Good. So who wants to pray us out? We're at the end of our hour.
I think Francis was going to use the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah. Yep. I'm gonna do the Aramaic version of the Lord's Prayer to pray us out, and also I think. Awesome. Bad timing. I think
Is that Arabic?
Yeah. He's translating as we speak.
It's a canine translation.
Yeah, it's Dogamatic.
I will also do the topic next week on the word God. So think about when you hear that word, what goes through your mind, what goes through your. Hold on, just 1 second.
And is this the translation that you sent us, Marie?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we should publish that as well.
Yeah, it's a translation from English to English from the original Aramaic, so it's not the one you find in the Bible.
Yeah, what was it you explained? It went in through 4 different iterations before it hit English? You know,
Yeah,
the same telephone, how the message changes by the end of the wire?
All right, sorry about that. I'm stuck in a hotel in Albuquerque, and that was room service that I don't need, so I had to send them away
Oh,
before Awesome chewed them alive.
Well, he had to stop barking.
Yeah. All right. So was the discussion complete?
yes.
Yes, we're ready for you to pray us out.
All right. O cosmic birther of all radiance and vibration, soften the ground of our being and carve out a space within us where your presence can abide. Fill us with your creativity so that we may be empowered to bear the fruit of your mission. Let each of our actions bear fruit in accordance with our desire. Endow us with the wisdom to produce and share what each being needs to grow and flourish. Untie the tangled threads of destiny that bind us as we release others from the entanglement of past mistakes. Do not let us be seduced by that which would divert us from our true purpose, but illuminate the opportunities of the present moment. For you are the ground and fruitful vision, the birth, power, and fulfillment, as all is gathered and made whole once again. And so it is.
So it is.
Thank you.
I like that.
That's beautiful.
Mhm.
Nikki, can we also put that up on the website maybe?
Yes, as a blog and or in one of our pages. And Kevin has shared his email for you, Francis, in chat.
All right. Okay, let me copy that.
Or Marie. Was it Marie?
Yeah, I sent him the talk email already.
You're on fire.
Well, if I don't do it now, I won't remember how to get back and find the email, and it could go bad.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for showing up, and this time zone thing will be worked out soon.
Okay, I hopefully won't do this again.
No problem. And we'll send you the recording as well, so you can.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Joey says hi.
Hi, Joey.
Hello.
Have a great week.
Okay,
All
bye-bye.
right, love you guys.
Thank you all.
Love
Bye-bye.
you too.